Today, we're going to be unpacking theme. Insert collective groan here. I know, you've been talking about theme for most of your academic career, but it is one of the most important literary devices that we discuss. So let's get into it. We'll be looking at some review, things that you've learned over the past couple of years, and then transitioning into our theme target for junior year. So what is theme? It is a truth, universal idea, message that is revealed about human nature, society, and or the human condition. So basically, it's what the book is saying about one of those things. It could be a lesson, it doesn't have to be, but it basically tells us how the world works. How to discern theme in a text, or how to find one. There's some other tricks I'm going to give you this year, but let's start with thinking about this question. What is the story about? Pretty simple. For this question, you want to come up with some one-word answers, like love, identity, power. Remember, these aren't themes yet. It is what the author is saying about these one words that is going to give us the theme. So is the story about love? What is it saying about love? Is it about power? What is it saying about power? Is it about identity? What is it saying about identity? Those are the themes. Remember, theme is never one word, never. I cannot stress that enough. It is the biggest problem that I find in students' papers is that they'll say that the theme of the story is love. Love is not the theme. It is what the author is saying about love that's the theme. So think about what the author is saying about that one word that you came up with. So let's think about a book that you all should have read last year, To Kill a Mockingbird. If I were to ask you what the story was about, you'd probably come up with some pretty similar words. Things like racism, prejudice, growing up, good versus evil, and courage. We're going to hone in on one of these, probably one of the larger ones in the text, because remember, these aren't themes yet. So what is the story saying about good versus evil? If I were to ask you that, you'd probably come up with statements similar to these. Good does not always overcome evil, and no one is entirely good or entirely evil. Most people are a mixture of both. Those statements are themes. Good versus evil is the topic. What the book is saying about those are the themes. So now that you have that in mind, let's take a look at the junior year theme target. So freshman year, you were asked to show how a theme develops over the course of a text. Sophomore year, you were asked to show how plot can create multiple themes. Junior year, you're combining ideas from both of those to determine two or more themes of a text, analyze their development over the course of the text, specifically including how they interact and build on one another to produce a complex account. I know, strange wording. Let's break this down a little more. What this is saying is that you have one pretty large theme in a book, and let's say for To Kill a Mockingbird, it's good versus evil. You're going to think about other smaller themes that help us have a better understanding of the theme of good versus evil, or give us a complex account of that theme. So let's go back to our list. If good versus evil is one of our larger themes, we'll take a look at some of these other topics that connect with good versus evil in the book. This is where you want to think about plot. What happens in the story? And how does good versus evil, growing up, prejudice, racism, courage, how do all of these come together, right? How do things like prejudice and growing up affect good versus evil? So when we think about that, we're looking at how does our understanding of what the book is saying about growing up, that theme, what the book is saying about prejudice, impact our understanding of what the book is saying about good versus evil, because we know that themes are constantly intertwining with each other and building on each other to help create a better understanding of some of the larger themes in the text. So when I think about this, this is what I come up with. To Kill a Mockingbird illustrates how the transition from childhood to adulthood influences people's perspective on good and evil, moving from a black and white view of the world to a more complex view. The transformation of Scout and Gem's views of good and evil and their coming of age work together to show how hatred, prejudice, and ignorance affects the innocent. If people are not adequately prepared for the evil of the world, they will be destroyed. So you can see that I've taken ideas from all three of these topics and issues, and I've thought about what the book is saying about growing up, what the book is saying about prejudice, and how both of those things tie into what the book is saying about good versus evil. So you can see the growing up in that first part there. To Kill a Mockingbird illustrates how the transition from childhood to adulthood influences our perspective. Now, that would be my theme topic for growing up or coming of age, however you want to say it. Now I take a little nod to this idea of good versus evil when I talk about a certain perspective. I don't just say it influences our perspective, I say it influences our perspective on good versus evil. And I say that, as a child, we have this very black and white view of the world. But as we start to get older, we start to have this more complex view. And we can understand that good isn't always going to triumph over evil, right? As a kid, we think that. We think superheroes and villains and the superhero always wins. But as we get older, we understand that that's not really the case. And we see that in To Kill a Mockingbird, right? The transformation of Scout and Gem's views of good and evil as they get older, right, come together to show how other influences like hatred and prejudice and ignorance that they find in their town affect the innocent, okay? So when we say the innocent, we think of, Scout herself, but we also think of Boo Radley. We think of Tom Robinson, right? Those people were not adequately prepared for the evil of the world, things like hatred, prejudice, and ignorance. And ultimately, they were destroyed. Now I can keep talking about this and expanding on this and giving evidence, which is what I'm going to be looking for when we start getting further down the line. But today, I just want you to dabble with how different themes connect to each other and build on each other in a book in a short paragraph like this one you see here. If you think you've got a pretty good understanding of what I'm asking you to do, you can hop on over to the Google survey I set up and view a Pixar video to answer some questions about theme. If you're still a little confused, check out the other video that I've got up that gives you some more ideas of how to discuss different themes interacting and building on each other to create a complex account. Thanks for watching.